Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Science vs. Scientism. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a PayPal link in the info box below the video and a super chat that runs alongside the show while it's live. I am joined by John, otherwise known as Quantum Eraser. How are you doing, John? Good to have you.
Thanks for having me again, sir.
It's a pleasure to have you here, as always. So this is a Flat Earth proof show, which is probably one of my favourite types of shows. So what's brought this on? Why have you decided to do this at this particular time? Any reason?
No, nothing specific. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about, wow, what's your Flat Earth proofs? There's no, you never talk about the Flat Earth. You just talk about pummeling our globe. So I hear that all the time, and I said, well, wait a second. Didn't I just do that a couple months ago? And I've been doing it, for the past I'm sorry, it's been just a little bit over 2 years now. So I'm thinking we're going to have to do this like every month or so, just to keep everybody honest.
Right. I'm with that. People forget easily. People are fickle.
People are pretender clowns.
Plenty of them. Can I pop you up on screen? Should we crack on with it?
Yeah. Let's get to it. Let me know when it's up.
You're on.
All right. Before we get to the 5 proofs now, it's 5 now. I've had 4. Well, I've had many of them. I have about actually 15 of them. But before we get to the 5, I just added one. It's on probation. Let's do the customary evisceration of the pseudoscience pretender clowns first. I mean, this is important, so that's why I always start off with this. So, starring from the pseudoscience pretender clowns, we have paleontology, anthropology, archaeology, geology, evolutionary biology. Yeah, I'm still laughing, whatever that is. Theoretical physics, non-experimental, and then astrophysics, astronomy, and cosmology, right? These are not frigging sciences. Crocheting is more scientific than these clowns combined. Why? Well, the first 6 pretenders can't get to the first step of the scientific method, science, observe a phenomenon without a time machine. And the final 3 masqueraders, astrophysics, astronomy, and cosmology, the ones that we deal with here in our genre, can't formulate scientific hypotheses because they lack viable independent variables. That is, they can't isolate, test, and validate their dependent variables, their predictions. You know that thing, that scientific hypothesis thing? It's a hard stop. I mean, it's over right here. We don't really have to go any further. I mean, that's what science is, following the scientific method. Now, the true sciences are quantum mechanics, that's physics, genetics, chemistry, biochemistry, and biology. Now, for this guy, I've been caveating this guy recently. Now, we're talking about cellular or molecular biology here. We're not talking about the glorified collators of conventions. That's not what I'm talking about. So remember, each claim from any of these disciplines must be accompanied by experiment, preferably repeated, validating each of their claims. Right? So if there's no experiment, I don't care where it comes from. If there's no experiment, that's clod swallow horse pucky. And we have a bunch of people fallaciously indicting the actual sciences, these guys, as pseudosciences. They're putting them in this category up here. Don't do that. These are pseudosciences, right? These are actual sciences. So don't conflate the two. You're in a category error. Hopefully there's no questions on this. I keep on going back over this, but everyone appeals to science. Science says, whenever globetards say science says, their science is right here. That's who they're appealing to. Science doesn't have lips or vocal cords or lungs. So it's not saying anything. It's not sentient or intelligent. But when they do that, they're talking about these guys, right? So correct them. All right. I hope that's clear. So to the 5 proofs, let's just get right to it. The first one is the Bolivian salt flats, right? Anthony, got you covered, man. Check this out, right? Now, like I said before in the previous presentation a few months ago, if this is on your bucket list, it should be. It's absolutely breathtaking. So I hope to get down there. We'll see how it goes. However, according to the heliocentric sun-worshipping spinning ball space monkey religion, every point along a tangent in every direction from your feet drops. That's vertical drop away from you at 8 inches per mile squared. We all know this. So from Borsa et al., topography of the Salar. The Salar in the Bolivian Andes is the largest salt flat on Earth, exhibiting less than 1 meter of vertical relief, right? So if you're reading this, you could stop right here and say, uh-oh, and this is over an area of 9,000 square kilometers. So this, right on its face, is a huge problem for the Globe-Tard religion, right? Because this is a geometrical flat plane. Now, you can have a myriad of topographical features on a sphere, mountain ridges, saddles, spurs, depressions. You know what you can't have? A geometrical flat plane. Why? Because it's a contradiction. And this one is over 9,000 square kilometers. Therefore, how can you stage 5 cling with a kung fu death grip to your fairy tale religion that has one of its foundational tenets, vertical drop, that is vertical relief, and yet at the same time have a flat plane with less than 1 meter vertical drop over 9,000 square kilometers, pray tell? Right? You can't have it. It's a right in your face contradiction. So what's interesting here is before this presentation yesterday, I was going through here. I just go through and check all the links and see if they're working. So I went ahead and opened this link up just to make sure, because I wanted to make a point down here with the north to south distance in the Salar. So I said, okay, let me go in here and make sure it's still working. Everything's okay. And I said, yeah, it's okay. It's the study, from Borsa. But then what I did, I scrolled down here and I said, oh no, this is now pay-per-view. Those wascally little wabbits. So I said, oh man, what a drag. So I said, okay, that's not a problem. We'll just go back to the previous presentation I did March 16th on the same topic, right? We're at the same spot here. As you can see, I'm getting ready to pull this link up. So let me just go ahead and run it. I'll keep the sound off. Doesn't matter. So we pull the link up. And of course, this time back here in March, the link goes ahead and pulls up. No problem. And I'm scrolling down to figure 6. I'm attempting to show here the distance north to south in the Salar. I just want a distance. So I scroll down, get to figure 6 here in a moment. So it's coming. There it is. So let's just use this one, right? It's from the same study. So alpha down here and alpha prime up here. It's a north to south measurement. I hope everyone can see this. This is 100-kilometer distance, right? So that's good. We can move on. So according to the spinning ball religion, 100 kilometers or 62 miles, the vertical drop is 781 meters. However, the Bolivian salt flats, the 100 kilometers, like I just showed you, or 62 miles, the vertical drop, well, we already know, they already said it's less than 1 meter. So This is pretty easy, unless one of the globetards can show us where the 780 meters went. It's over right here. That is, you live in or on a fairy tale. The end. It's just that simple. So somebody please show us the 780 meters of missing vertical drop. Best wishes. B, or number 2, the evolved Sea Sparrow missile. You see this, Anthony? Gotcha. All right, this is an interesting picture for a couple of reasons. I'd like to point out a couple things. For the calculations I used above sea level, I used 80 feet. Now, as you can see here, I don't know, this doesn't look like it's 80 feet above sea level, about 30 or 40 feet at best, but that's okay. I just wanted to point that out. And you see this little contraption right on the side of it, right here, of the Sea Sparrow. This is the target illumination radar. Okay, this is going to become very important here in a moment. So, the general characteristics of the evolved Sea Sparrow, Block 1, from the Navy itself. Primary function is surface to air and what? Surface to surface radar guided missile. Range is more than 35 miles. Again, from the Navy itself. It's more than that, but the rest is classified. It's at least 35 miles. So, the missile receives a reflected signal from a target that is being illuminated with an RF signal transmitted from the fire control radar. That is the target illumination radar I just showed you right here. From a standoff platform, such systems require, this is very important, that the platform maintain line of sight. That's the rub. To the target until it is engaged by the missile. So that target illumination radar needs line of sight. And most people can already see the problem. But we'll go ahead and get into a little more depth anyway. The target is illuminated with a 2-degree RF pencil beam, which has to be maintained, that is painted on the target until detonation. At a more than generous 80 feet above sea level. And like I said, this 80 feet, I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to the globetards. This should be 40 feet. The target illumination radar height. The target should be hidden behind 385 feet of curvature. So I'm giving you two things. I'm giving you the elevation, which should be minus than half, and I'm taking the numbers from the affirmative consequent perspective hijacking, angular size change blinded, bulge compensating, willful distraction, limit ignorant, proof of nothing, Willie Yankin circle joke calculator, right? So we need to take this with a grain of salt. Even if we use it with that, it's still over. So please explain how you can have line of sight 35 miles away on a spinning ball by showing how a 2-degree RF pencil beam can penetrate 385 feet. That's 117 meters of target hidden height through a wall of water 24 miles in length, right? Ain't gonna happen. RF's not penetrating water. And like I said, the 35 miles is lowballing. The official maximum effective range is classified. It's much greater than 35 miles. So, in summary, number 1, the evolved Sea Sparrow missile, its max effective range is greater than 35 miles. The surface targets are engaged by the evolved Sea Sparrow missile. To engage, the target must be illuminated by an RF pencil beam. Therefore, it must have line of sight. That's the big guy. That's the elephant in the room. And the target illumination radar must be on the same ship, that's the launch ship, as the missile. And we're going to talk about this here below in a second. So, conclusion. Either the evolved Sea Sparrow missile, the Block 1 exists, or the spinning ball religion exists. That's it. That's your two choices right here. Both of these can't be true. The end. Like I said, by the way, see, the main comeback to this argument, it was quite funny. It's been happening for years, and I keep on putting the same argument out. They're still not getting it. So, like I said, the target illumination radar must be on the same ship for the ESS or the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1. They both must be on the same ship. And I'm going to show you. From Raytheon, listen to this closely. Unlike the RIM-7 Sea Sparrow missile and the ESSM Block 1, right? Block 2's active seeker will support terminal engagement without the launch ship's target illumination radars. That means the ESSM, the Evolved Sea Sparrow Block 1, must have the target illumination radar on the launch ship. Period. End of story. And the Block 2 is not a big problem because the Block 2 won't be fielded until 2020. Right here. Right? It will be fielded in 2020 with 80 missiles going to the fleet. So, that's not a problem because we're not talking about the Block 2. We're talking about the Block 1. The first production of the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 was delivered in late 2002 to the U.S. Navy by Raytheon and has been in full operational use since 2004. So, please tell me how the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 has been engaging surface-based targets at more than 35 miles with the target illumination radars on ships for the past 14 years. It's over. You can't do it. It's a contradiction. So the spinning ball religion is dead. The end. Right? That one's done. This one sends people off the reservation. I mean, I've had arguments with secular astrophysicists, you know, the popular ones. And this one, after I'm done with this one, it's pretty short. All they do is call me names. It elicits extreme name calling. And it's so easy. I think that's why, right? Because you can't get out of it. So it's just the Coriolis effect. That's all it is. It's the Coriolis effect. It's simple elegance. And most people don't know what that is, right? We went over that before. You know, they talk about, you know, toilet water draining. I mean, give me a break. Or the clouds, you know, in the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere. Clouds aren't apparently deflecting. So you need to get out of this doctrination that people just tell you stuff and you just believe it and run with it because it's ridiculous. I'm going to show it here in a minute. So let's establish what the Coriolis effect is. And more importantly, what is the cause of the Coriolis effect? That's the most important. That's the basis of my argument. All right. So for the Coriolis effect to exist, you must have, that is, the necessary conditions. These conditions must exist first so that the Coriolis effect can exist. You must have two differing frames of reference. One rotating coordinate system, that's non-inertial, that's the Earth, and one non-rotating coordinate system, that's inertial, that's the atmosphere, and everything in it. So, from Seaguard Douglas, Introduction to Ocean Sciences. This is a university-level textbook. The Coriolis effect. When set in motion, freely moving objects, including air, that's atmosphere, and water masses, that's clouds and water vapor, move in straight paths while the Earth continues to do what? Rotate independently. Duh. Because freely moving objects are not carried with the Earth as it rotates. They are subject to an apparent deflection. It's an apparent deflection. That means it's not actually deflecting, folks, called the Coriolis effect. To an observer rotating with the Earth, freely moving objects that travel in straight line appear to travel in a curved path on the Earth. Now, that's one definition from Seaguard Douglas. Let's go to the Encyclopedia Britannica and see if we can get some echo in here. So, Within its rotating coordinate system, the object acted on by the Coriolis effect, appears to deflect off its path of motion. This deflection is not real. You see that? Because it's apparent. It only appears to happen because the coordinate system that establishes a frame of reference for the observer is also rotating. Basically the same thing that Seaguard Douglas up here said. So let's be sure. Let's go ahead and corroborate this. We'll go with the University of Oregon, right? So the effect of the Coriolis force is an apparent deflection again, off the path of an object that moves within a rotating coordinate system. That object does not actually deviate from its path, but it appears to do so because of the motion of the coordinate system. All three of these definitions are echoing each other, right? There should be no question about this, right? So let's go to Wiki. You know, the Wiki pretender clowns. You know what? What if Wiki was all of a sudden pay-per-view? My prediction, there would be less pretender clowns per square mile if that happened. I'll tell you that much. So let's take a look at this. This is illustrating what those definitions below were describing. If you can look at the top up here, let's say you're on the rotating coordinate system, right? You're rotating around. This ball, which is detached from the rotating coordinate system, is going straight, folks. It's going straight. We can look at the bottom. The only reason that it appears to curve is because you're rotating with the system. The ball's going straight. Hopefully everyone understands this. I don't think I can break this down any further. So we'll see after this. Like I said, I've been going over this for years. So back to the point. So according to the definitions above, what's rotating? Well, the Earth is rotating. B, what's moving independent of the rotating Earth? Well, the atmosphere and every freely moving object in it. That's bullets, planes, balloons, anything that is not tethered to the Earth is freely moving. So this is real simple. If the Coriolis effect is true, and it is, because you can do it on a merry-go-round with the ball I just showed you, you can go do it yourself. It's going to be the same thing, right? Then its necessary conditions A and B up here must be true, right? Pretty simple logic. So if A and B are true, then a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles nonstop, traveling at 500 miles per hour airspeed with both locations roughly the 35th degree north latitude, that is, they're both allegedly spinning at 860 miles per hour. It should be 1.5 hours, the travel time from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA. But it's 4.5 hours, right? The Charlotte to Los Angeles flight, the airspeed is 500 miles an hour. So you have to take the ground speed, the 500 miles per hour, plus the 860 miles per hour alleged rotation speed that's coming in your face. You have to add them together. This is simple math. It's 1,360 miles per hour when you add them together. In other words, based on the law of non-contradiction, the Coriolis effect, and this is really important, the Coriolis effect with respect to the Earth. We're not talking about the merry-go-round here. We're talking about with respect to the Earth. That's how we're pummeling this nonsense. So in other words, based on the law of non-contradiction, the Coriolis effect with respect to the Earth and the Charlotte flight at 1.5 hours, they're either both true or both false. Period. End of story. Well, the flight is most assuredly false. Therefore, conclusion, the Earth is not spinning. Ergo, the ball goes by way of the dodo bird, or you're a stationary ball geocentrist. It's just that simple. These arguments are irrefutable. You cannot refute these. The only way you can refute them is to change all the definitions. So, and we've already experienced some of that, but we can slam the door shut on those quite quickly. D, or number 4, no vacuum of space. And for the 1275th time, how do you have gas pressure, atmospheric pressure, without a container to begin with, when the pressure of a gas is the force that the gas exerts on the walls of its container? I mean, it's just as simple as that. You need me to bring Ryan back in here? So you can't have gas pressure in an open system. And that's what according to the fairy tale, the spinning ball religion fairy tale, the earth is an open system. Case closed, right? But you can't have gas pressure in an open system, guys. Married bachelors are more tenable. So basically, please explain how you can have a tire pressure without the tire, right? This is preposterous, lunatic fringe. This is out there, man. This is clinical level stuff. If you think you can have a tire pressure without the tire, you need to be institutionalized. Number 2, how can you have a vacuum that's outer space attached to a non-vacuum Earth without a physical barrier in the same system simultaneously, without bludgeoning to a bloody pulp the laws of entropy, the second laws of thermodynamics? In other words, how are you still breathing and adhering to your fairy tale religion both at the same time? We got another law of non-contradiction violation here. This is prima facie. It's right in your face. You don't have to dig too deep. Please list each fairy tale associated with outer space that gets taken out back to the woodshed and bludgeoned senseless as a result of the fairy tale vacuum of space vaporized. Like I went over in my previous presentations. I don't the whole house of cards collapses. Man, this is kind of fun. How in the world did the Earth form an atmosphere at all in a vacuum? I'd like to see that trick. Did they do it from the Big Bang, from that pseudoscience fairy tale? How'd you get that? I'd like to hear that one. Have you ever heard nature abhors a vacuum? By chance. Why is that? That's a rhetorical question. P.S. from Arthur Eddington, The Nature of the Physical World from 1930. And this is still valid, folks. If your theory is found to be against the second law of thermodynamics, I can give you no hope. There is nothing for your theory but to collapse in the deepest humiliation. The end. You live in a deeply humiliated fairy tale. Case closed. End of story. Now for the new one, the new guy on the block. And you can tell right away. See, this right here, even this statement right here, this is a contradiction on its face, right? Linear squared functions. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about this photo from Ranty. Thanks, Ranty, by the way. I was looking at this photo, just the naked photo, without any of the editings here. And I was looking at this saying, what in the world is going on here? Now, there's a lot of issues if you're a globetard. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of them. However, one jumped off the page. I said, wait a second. Let me put a line through these things. A linear line. Right? So I put the lines through and I said, well, wait a second. I mean, it's been many, many years since I was graphing functions, right? But I said to myself, wait a second. I said, everyone knows that, squared functions are nonlinear, right? Just on its face, just right there. I mean, I don't have to go any further. If I put straight lines on this diagram or on this photo, and this is reality, right? If I put a straight line through these turbines, it's over right there, folks. right? You can't have linear lines through the hubs on a spinning ball religion that must obey a nonlinear squaring functions. You said right there, I don't have to go on any further, right? I don't have to peel this onion back any further. It's right in your face. I don't need any models. You don't have to pull up a model and show that. You don't have to do that. I don't need it. It's over right here, right? You can't pull up any scientific models anyway because they don't exist. Any questions about this? But this is done right here. Now, this is more of a visual proof, and I was hesitant to add them to my 4 because my other 4 proofs are pragmatic, right? And I've always been hesitant about, just observations. I know this just isn't an observation. I can put some lines through here, so it's justifying a little bit. So I'm 95% sure about adding this. I love it because it's so simple. An incoherent 3rd grader can reconcile this. So I think it's going to go on my list. We'll see. But I don't know what your retort here is. I really don't know.
Maybe it's an opportunity to... you've got a particular name for the calculator, as have I. What's your name for the calculator again?
Oh, you had the affirming the consequent, perspective hijacking, angular size change blinded, bulge compensating, willful diffraction limit ignorant, proof of nothing, Willie Yankin circle jerk calculator.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's the one. Right? But back to this, Nathan. I know a lot of people, we've been talking about this a lot recently. I don't know of any retort to this. I can't. Because of this, the nonlinear and linear lines, I can't get past it. Right? So if anyone has any arguments up against this, I'm willing to listen, but I don't know. From what I've learned, you can't have nonlinear squaring functions. They must obey the nonlinear squaring function, right? You can't have linear squared functions. You can't have married bachelors. Same concept.
I mean,
right,
is it oversimplistic to say you can't have a straight line on a curve?
I don't think it's oversimplistic because you can't. A curve and straight. See, curve and straight are mutually exclusive. Right there. I mean, just by the definition of their words, right? So I don't know what they're going to do about this. They're going to start jumping through hoops. I can already see the mental and acrobatics with this. They're going to be laughable. I don't know. Maybe some of you have something legitimate. I can't see it as of right now. I can't see it. Can you see it?
I don't know. Like you say, we've been talking about this a long time, and I don't see any way around it.
I don't either. So it might be added. Let me give it a few more weeks. I'm still thinking about it, but this is case closed right here. I don't even have to say anything. Just leave the text down here. It's over right there. Right? So, all right. Well, listen. Like I said, we did this presentation back in March. Maybe we'll go maybe every month or two, we'll go back to these. Like I said, the first 4 are pragmatic. You can't get around them, right? In 2 years, all I had people do, and we're talking PhDs, everyone from PhDs down to Joe Coffey and Betty Breadmaker, all I did is called names. And the arguments against these are I'm calling them weak. I'm lowballing. I mean, they're a joke. I get crazy stuff, man, with these. They always go off the topic. They always red herring fallacies. They're just ridiculous to me, and they're so simple to defend. I love doing it. I just put them up everywhere. So listen, people. Let's wrap it up. Thanks for your ear. Have a nice day.
Superb. Well, first of all, let's say a massive thank you to you, John. Real pleasure, as always. Thank you for doing that presentation. Hopefully we'll see a lot more of it.
Oh, you can bet on that.
And I'm also going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the presentation, well, you know exactly what to do, but if you liked the presentation, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!